Hail everyone, this is Arm Bushido for Dry Stocks AR, and welcome to SITREP 01. I did one of these earlier, but I hadn't really worked out the format, and I must be honest, I still haven't quite worked out the format yet. I'm not sure how I want to do these. This is my attempt to kind of gather some news and look at some things that have been announced for some of the games I play and or focus on. Typically, number one would be War Thunder. But not always. I will be throwing in some other stuff. This is not focused on any specific game or even a game in general. I have a couple of tidbits today, or excuse me, at least one tidbit that doesn't focus on a game. So again, I haven't really nailed down the format. I'm hoping to, as I move along, maybe it grows, it evolves, I get a little better at it. Also, it's kind of a way just to sit here and not be playing a game and share information with you that I enjoy and love, and kind of maybe just in a way, kind of have a conversation with myself a little bit, but hopefully with you, and maybe you guys are allowed to post comments, give me your thoughts, all that type of stuff. So we're going to lead right out of the box. I did the first one about a week and a half ago, and again, I'm still trying to nail the format when I should do this, because news, some weeks are big, some weeks, are not so big, so it should be every 2 weeks, once a month. I haven't really decided. But War Thunder really started getting on the ball here a little bit. We must be getting close. As we all know, the next update, of course, is going to bring in the Italian air tree. Now, as I've stated before, I'm not big into the air side. I mean, I do know a lot about planes. I'm interested in them, but it's not my main focus. So I'll be honest, I got a little bit nervous when I felt that, is this update going to be only about the Italian tech tree? And I'm like, because I am a ground forces person at heart, and I was a little dissatisfied. But here to come, there is some more here coming in this patch, and I'm very excited. But for the most part, it is going to be a big focus, as you can see, on Italian aircraft. And again, I'm not even going to sit here and pretend I even know these planes or how to pronounce them. But, if you're interested or you have not gotten to the site and checked this out, there's a lot of extensive information out there on the aircraft. And again, I'm very excited that the Italians are getting their own separation. I just don't know, like I said, with our current development, every country has an aviation tree and a armor tree, ground forces tree, and we've all got to be really honest. The Japanese ground forces is very weak at best. And again, that's just because the country, it was not their focus. And it's not something that they, in the modern world, they do, have a little bit more to offer. But in World War II, it just never went, a lot of it never went beyond the drawing stages, let alone a prototype. So then you end up with a lot. Once you crest past World War II, Japan ends up innately inheriting a lot of American tree. And I don't want to see that. I don't want to see, let's pull up another one here. I don't want to see just a regurgitation of other vehicles from other countries, and we get that a lot in the plane side. Germany gets the Sabre, other countries get the MiG, on and so forth. And so I really feel that kind of, I don't know, it kind of weakens the content. Gaijin comes out and says, hey, look at all this, and you really go, well, that's just the same model as over here. You just slapped another emblem on it. And maybe tweak the numbers and go, well, it doesn't quite perform the same, whatever. Anyway, and I don't want to get on that train, but I just hope that they do a little bit of more focus on things that are more unique. And unfortunately, when you're building your trees around countries, it's hard. I can understand it being hard, especially where War Thunder tries to adhere to at least, quote unquote, and there's a big thing floating over my head right now. They try to adhere to, at least there has to be a prototype even though I'd say the E100, you barely had a hull. Anyway, it is what it is. Again, and I've went into my discussion about paper tanks. I think they're kind of cool in a way to see that what that vision might have looked like and play around with. Unfortunately, you know, if you're and I'm kind of a historian type guy, you know, you kind of go, well, you don't know how that would have performed. That tank would never win against that tank. But then again, there's a lot of that, you know, even with prototypes. So, but I still think it's cool to see that vision. Anyway, so let's move on to something that I'm a little more excited for. The T-55A is going to be added to the Soviet line. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know the endgame Soviet line. I watched a lot of streamers. They all seem to be pretty happy because they feel that the line is weak. But I am excited because, to me, this is probably, in my mind, the most iconic Soviet tank next to the T-34. In fact, I meant to pull this up and look at production numbers. I think it did or has outproduced the T-34. This tank is iconic for the Soviet Union, post-World War II, Cold War era, and probably, you know, and not to get into too much political debate, a huge representative of the Middle East. This tank has pretty much served in every Middle Eastern country you can think of. And rightfully so. I think it was probably, like the T-34, was the compilation of all the right pieces at the right time. And of course, nowadays, of course, very outdated. But then again, if you go look at footage from Syria right now, and other areas out there, you'll still see these things out there running all these years later. So kudos to you know, to that process and to a tank that, you know, pretty much, again, symbolizes Russian tank design, ingenuity, and whatever. You know, it's really, in my mind, again, when I think of Russia, I think of the T-55, not the T-34. But still, again, and I can't speak for in-game practical purposes. I'm just looking at from a, you know, historic and real world level. It's I love this. This is great, and it gets me excited and hopeful. Where are we going, Gaijin? Because you're starting to run out of space into rank 5, I think. And as we know, the April Fool's thing came along, and they brought in modern vehicles and helicopters and said they were ranked quote unquote 9. I'm hoping that's not true. Or there's a break there somewhere, a division between old and post or World War II, pre-World War II, whatever, Cold War, because I'm currently grinding Germany. Actually, I'm grinding them all, but I'm deepest into Germany. And as we all know, it gets brutal. And I just can't foresee it going to 9 ranks. Nobody's going to grind there. Not hell, even the guys that are already done with rank 5 going, holy shit, I got to grind 4 more ranks. They're not going to want to do it. There has to be a better way. And then you got new players coming. You may have players coming in that want to play modern vehicles and don't care about World War II era vehicles. And so how do you balance that out? And I hope and I pray, optimistic, that they have a great idea sitting in there. Anyway, so again, very exciting that, hey, this is not just going to be Italian aircraft, okay? Good deal. All right. But today, this is what got me going, and I said, hey, I need to pull this up. This right here just made me wet, okay? I love the Puma series. And if you read any historical stuff, they actually fared pretty well, especially this version right here they're introducing. And this just introduced, I'm excited for this vehicle and possibly others that could come along. Who knows? Maybe in this thing we'll see the Greyhound for USA, and I think there's a couple in there kind of for the Soviet. Now, they all wouldn't be like in the same tier, or excuse me, ranking, but still, this is very exciting. I mean, and it opens up for me. Now, again, when we starting to throw vehicles in, you could throw a lot of vehicles in, and you could go, well, what's the practical purpose? Okay, most of these vehicles, you know, again, in game, when we talk in game, their usefulness starts to degrade quite heavily and fast. At least in a game like War Thunder, especially when you get into sim battle, even realistic battle, you know, you do have options and a chance. But I feel that, you know, part of me kind of goes, well, you can't just, you know, a lot of people are talking, you know, about adding other vehicles. And we're going to look at one of the other variants here. Okay, so here's the main vehicle right here. Well, this vehicle had 4 different variants. And of course, the predominant one that was built is the one War Thunder's introducing of the series. However, there was... this was the initial version right here, and I believe it had a 20 millimeter. It's the same gun that's on several of the other German vehicles, which, again, I think it would be okay. You know, armor-wise, it's actually armored better than some of the vehicles that are currently in the game. And I think this would definitely have a opportunity to be in the game also. And moving right along, then you have this one. This was what it was considered kind of the command variant, and sometimes you'd see it, and it would have antennas across it and stuff like that. And this is basically the same gun that would be on the early Panzer IVs. It's a low velocity 75. However, from what I read, if they used a hollow charge, the 75 with the hollow charge had more pen than the one with the L60 on it. And then, of course, you move into the final one that kind of rolled in late in the war, but there were some produced, and it had a Pak 70, you know, the Pak 40 on it, which this was a tank destroyer. Unfortunately, for what I read, it was way outclassed for the chassis, and 2, ammunition was very limited. They could not carry a lot of ammo. In fact, from what I read, it was about 12 rounds. So you take that with a grain of salt, but could they all be put into game? Most definitely. They could be put into the game and be used as vehicles at some tier or another and be very interesting. But again, do they become practical, something everybody's going to run every day? No, they become more of, hey, this is my collector's thing. Honestly, I play a lot of War Thunder for some reasons, and one of those is that this is my virtual 3D models, so I don't have to sit them up on the shelf and dust them. I've gotten too old and lazy to put models together, and I've gotten too old and lazy. I don't want to dust around everything, and I still have a lot. I have Tiger 2s on my shelf right now, some from 21st Century Toys. Actually, I have a 1/16th Panther on my shelf from 21st Century Toys from back in the day. So anyway, it gets me excited, and it gets me thinking, could they bring in some other ones? And I thought of this right here. The classic, iconic, as it's referred to as the Hanomag Company, or Hanomag, they actually refer to that, or the 251 vehicle. And this vehicle had so many variants, I'm not even going to go down that path. But the key ones would be, anything with some type of gun. And the biggest one was, there was one with the Pak 40 on it, just like the Puma series. And I feel it would work just about the same. This would have weaker armor, but it would compete. There is, in the American line, I believe there is an M3 half-track with a gun on it. It could be right in those lines, except for the Pak 40 was a nasty anti-tank gun. So again, balancing issues, all that, what's the practicality, that gets to play. But at the same time, me as I just want to see it. I just want to run around in it. And so sometimes you get tied up in that. And there was an anti-aircraft version that looked really well, that would fit in fairly decently too. But again, as you can see, this thing had just a tremendous amount of variance here, and I'm not even going to bother. There's just so many. Anyway, so very excited when I seen this today. And again, we must be getting close to the patch. They really start throwing down, hey, this is coming, and then they do the all-in-one compilation. I'm excited. Hey, I'm interested just to see what they're going to throw out there. This kind of caught me off guard. Throwing the Puma on the table was very, very, very interesting. So kudos to Gaijin, and kudos to, with the other ones out there, the World of Tanks. I'm just going to bring it up. I keep expecting that to show up there, and it never has. At some level, there is a very limited wheeled vehicle in that game, and part of it, I think, is just due to the engine's just not there for it. I give credit to Gaijin. A lot of people criticize Gaijin's engine, but I think it's, out of them all right now, it's the most adaptable. I think they are positioning themselves, hey, we can make a game, we can just keep throwing shit in it. Is it always perfect? No, but it works. And we'll try to make it work. And so bringing along with that, finally, I just like to, kind of reiterate on, I've kind of touched on a little bit, the CBT and for the ships is out there. It's not getting a lot of traction. I think a lot of people are disappointed with the direction Gaijin went with the ships. I actually enjoyed it. I actually kind of enjoyed it. So I'm not going to sit here and downplay a little bit. Does it need work? Yes. But now we're starting to see destroyers creep in there. So again, I feel a little bit that Gaijin, hey, they're listening to what the community is saying, and PT boats and this little stuff isn't what we want. We want to see full-blown ships. So moving up to destroyers, okay, not the biggest ships, but it is a move up, and I'm curious to see where this goes. But it does seem like the ship thing is we haven't seen a weekend test in a while, and I am part of that, and I do throw some streams up on what I'm experiencing, and I will try to keep everyone involved. But we have not seen that in, I want to say a month, probably about a month. So anyway, with that, that's kind of what's up to date with War Thunder. Again, I'm very excited for the future. So let's move on to the next game that I kind of stream about a little bit, and that's Armored Warfare. And to be right up front, guys, there is not a lot here. First off, everybody's been expecting to patch the 2.0 patch with the UI revamp and all that. I'm not even going to touch on that right now. And they pushed it back 2 weeks. It's about 2 weeks now, and I kept waiting for today to hear something. Hey, we're going to do it Thursday. There was nothing today, so that tells me it's not going to probably drop tomorrow unless they just drop it without telling anybody, which is a distinct possibility. And I think, a lot of people are upset in the forums, and everybody's going, hey, at least they're trying to get it right. But I think people are upset because they're just starving for any content. And really, this patch, there's not a lot of content, honestly. It's a UI revamp for the garage. Okay, whoop-de-doo. I think there may be a map coming. I'd have to go back and look at the preliminary patch notes or the Russian patch notes. But there's no vehicles that I know of unless something gets slipped in there. So really, it's tweaks, balances for the major patch that came that they wasted 8 months on. And again, I apologize if I seem a little negative and harsh on Armored Warfare, but at this point, what else do we got? I mean, again, you got people upset over a minor patch, and honestly, I was kind of excited that they were actually dropping it a month later. But now we've dredged it out, and again, I get it. If you got bugs, fix them. But I think people are so content starved for this game that they will just like, oh my God, you got to give us something, and it's just not coming. And honestly, I think they've abandoned North America. There's no PvP, and even now PvE is starting to fall the wayside. Nobody's around. It's hard to get a game. And again, I won't even stream a PvE match. Come on, seriously. Do you guys need to see streaming of PvE? That is just, it's not exciting. It is boring. It's repetitious. Yes, is it a good gap filler? I will agree, but it's not the mainstay. I am sorry. PvP is where it's at. That's what makes or breaks a game, and it's just not cutting it. So the only thing I can throw up here, which will be in patch 2.1, is another map called Waterway. Looks interesting. I'm not going to say good or bad on it because really I just don't know. That's great. They're adding more maps. That's awesome. Also, it feels like to me that we were supposed to get another global operations map, and that the whole global operation, I actually liked global operations because that was kind of that blending of PvP, PvE type content, and now that's kind of got kicked to the curb, it feels like, because we wasted 8 months redoing a game that maybe didn't need to be redone. It had a solid foundation. Just keep adding content and tweak it and build it and shape it and mold it, like a piece of clay. Don't just start over. Honestly, I've been playing games a long time, everyone, and it just never works out. It just never comes out. Anytime you got to do that, I can't think of any game that really survived a complete revamp. And this game didn't even get off the ground. It was still technically in beta, and it's still technically in beta. Now we're going on 2 years, and we really just don't have a foundation. And I feel, part of me, I'm angry. I'm sad. I'm disappointed. I'm just like, I don't even know what to say anymore. I've given up almost looking at the page just to see if there's anything. And the forums, kudos to people that keep the forums going. And here's a good band. This kind of interests me. If that was never a thing, would AW be alive right now? Honestly, I don't think it's any different. It's no different. I'm sorry, there isn't been. Oh my God, everybody piled back on at 2.0. It's the same as it's been. I mean, it peaked and it spiked up a little bit after the patch. But when I say spiked up, I mean, come on, you would not even see that on the radar. It was just no. It's the same, and nothing has changed. Nothing. There's a few players out there, yeah, they're trying, but you can't get a PvP match in North America anytime. End of story. Done. It is dead. I have not went and loaded up Europe again in a while, but again, one, I worked hard on my North American side. Two, because I can't take it with me, I just don't want to start over. It's not that interesting. There's no drive for me to start over. I'll play with the long ping, the latency, but there's no drive for me to start over. I'm just like, screw it. I'm done. Again, I'll keep bringing in news, but I just don't play. I have no incentive to play. I don't know about you guys, but I have no incentive to play. Anyway, let's move on to some separate news here. So one of the things that's come up, and I am excited for, is Rising Storm 2 Vietnam. Now, I'm going to be right up front with you guys. I did not get to play in any of the betas because I was not paying a damn attention. I am a huge fan of Red Orchestra. I played the original mod when it was a mod. I bought the... I just loved what Tripwire did. It was everything perfect. Did they take away? Yeah, they took away some stuff. But still, in the end, these guys, to me, are better than the Call of Duties and the Battlefields of the world. I've been disappointed in Battlefield. I didn't mind Battlefield 3. Loved Battlefield 2. Of course, 1942 was awesome. But I think these guys get it. And here's the deal. I mean, seriously, even if come on, to buy the Battlefield anymore, what's the latest? Battlefield 1, which I purchased, $60. $60. But if you want everything, it's like $120 EA is pounding you in the butt for. Okay, $120. You know what, guys? Here's the deal. You can pick this game up on Steam, pre-order, early, and it has early access, but the beta is over. If the beta is over, it's launching May 30th. The beta is over. You can pick this game up right now for $22.49. Dude, that's like 3 cups of coffee at Starbucks. Seriously. I mean, even if it's the worst game in the world, I still haven't been burned as bad as I have lately with EA and their Battlefront crap. So seriously, this game... And I have not got to play in the beta. I was late to the party. There is some videos out there, and I'm hoping to post some on this. This looks fantastic. It has commander view. I mean, this makes any of the... this is what some of the Battlefields should have been. And these guys are getting on it. And I'm not saying there isn't problems. There probably is. Again, I have not played it. I'm going to quantify that again. I have not played it. But still, for that price right there, $22.49. Seriously, for the money I spent on just Battlefield 1 just to play the base game, I could have bought it myself. I already bought my copy. And I could hand it out 2 more to other people. I mean, seriously, it's just disgusting. So again, very excited for this. And I just want to throw it out there. Rising Storm 2 Vietnam. Epic 64-player battles. Both sides have unique abilities. Very well done. Very well done. And finally, I'm going to roll into something. I happen to be stumbling along and I come across this. And this is just kind of a funny little note because I like the whole morphing of the World War II tanks. And their models actually done by this company. And I highly recommend checking them out. And all the links will be at the bottom for everything I showed here. I will have links in the bottom, down below, down below. Anyway, they just look really cool. These are the first two they did, the Tiger and the Sherman. And now they're going to do the King Tiger and the KV-2. And again, this is stuff that you don't need, but you want on your shelf. And again, it all comes back to, do you want to dust around it, basically. But they look so cool. They just make me laugh, and they're kind of neat. And really, where this stemmed from was there's a game, and I'm going to report on the game. And the game is not my cup of tea. It's called World War Tunes. And I'm probably out on this one, guys. Just not my flavor. Reminds me of what's the one EA tried to peddle? Battlefield Heroes, I believe. Didn't do so well. It was kind of had a cartoony art stylistic to it. And I'm not knocking this at all. It's just not my cup of tea. But I do like the fact that the models are available, that they've kind of taken away from it and morphed. So it's really cool. And I'm very excited for that. Anyway. That's about it. I know there's probably a ton of news out there I've missed, and I'm trying not to also put too much that it over piles it on and gets too much. Just trying to focus on the games I really focus on, which is War Thunder, War Thunder, War Thunder, War Thunder, and Armored Warfare. And I may even throw some World of Tanks in there, World of Ships. It depends. I know World of Ships just put out a new patch, I believe. I like to play World Warships every once in a while, but it's still just not really. Again, I like War Thunder, and that's where I'm at. I will probably be doing some Rising Storm 2 Vietnam once it goes live, and I believe that is May 30th, if my memory serves me correct. And again, I'm just going to post some things too. I have a couple ideas on some books I've read I'd like to recommend and throw out there for everybody. And in these little sessions, again, I'm calling SITREP. Just things, just general, throw it together, try to keep it around 15 minutes throughout. I may throw something out that you missed throughout the week or couple weeks. Again, I haven't quite worked out the total format. But anyway, I'm very excited for the Puma in War Thunder. I can't say that enough. But anyway, this has been Arm Bushido for Dry Socks AAR SITREP. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening. And I hope Odin welcomes you to Valhalla.